Hi everybody. So today from the book Encounters with the Rich and Famous, I am presenting to you very special moments around Mr. Sallu Bhai. They call him the Bhai because there's such an edgy dimension to his personality and he has so much fire that he somehow always manages to attract drama and legal problems. Of course, over the years, when I've been meeting Salman, I think at least 3 times with Hello Magazine, I genuinely felt that he's a good human being inside. Being human suits his personality. That kind of initiative works for the lovely, soft, sensitive side in Salman. But this whole legal drama and this whole the soap opera that his life has been, when it comes to homicide, running over somebody, sleeping on the sidewalk near his house because he was drunk driving, and those kind of complications, shooting black bucks, which are an endangered species. So it's kind of like he has this Pathan blood. And if you remember, royals used to go out on shikars, they used to go out and hunt different species of animals and birds, and they were never considered to be outlaws. But when we researched how that was done back in the day for recreation, when these men went out to hunt, they had a season, a hunting season. And when that season lapsed, then they allowed those species to regenerate. So if Salman really wants to be a good human being and have his fun on the side, he needs to perhaps just be a little more analytical and do things in a method. So then he could present to the Rajasthan court that I've done the shikar in the shikar season. I will now for 9 months not touch any black buck or any other specimen. I will let them regenerate and we can do a survey and we can see that the animal has regenerated. So, having said that, that's not the most exciting aspect of Salman Khan. I'll read an excerpt, I'll read my introduction. His life's ambition was to make 10 lakh rupees. Today that sum must be pocket change. Salman Khan is a brand that supersedes a price tag. At any point in time, he is a people magnet, an imagined messiah who bashes up the goons and then goes home and romances a very coy wife, like a Sonakshi. All in a day's work. Even if B-Town may have outgrown its typical heroes, Salman makes a case for the old world daredevil. Casanova, the saucer-eyed rake, Didi tera devar divana, Hai Ram, and so on and so forth. Frankly, he has inspired a whole generation of younger heroes to bulk up or ship out. So Ritik had openly told me that Salman gave me the confidence in the early days. He taught me how to work out, he taught me how to build my body. And a very beautiful aspect of Salman's story on interview was that he said when we were struggling, when we were being thrown out of offices, I took a vow that when I get established in this business, I will be the rung on which a young actor can put his foot. I will be the rungs on the ladder for these younger actors. And I found that was very moving to listen to, because you would imagine in entertainment everyone's so competitive that they're busy pulling each other down, but he did not subscribe to that at all. And he said when I was struggling, I piggybacked on my actor friends and they shouldered. So it was Sanjay Dutt, I think, and he said Jitendra in some film, and he was known to be sort of not a very bankable actor at that time. So these two strong actors acted with him and supported him. So he appreciated that. Then I actually, when we had the 5-hour wait for the shoot for Hello, so we were shooting for an anniversary cover. Salman was doing a cover after a decade of disappearing from covers. We waited in that hot, humid heat in this little smarmy garden at Mehboob, and then I got so fed up that I told my crew, my team, that look, I'm heading out to Globus to do some shopping. And when this super duper hero shows up, then you please let me know, I'll come back. And when I came back with my 2 hands with shopping bags, my art director, Suresh Bandari, he was joking. He said, why don't you just add this to the bills and we'll send it to the Salman team so that they know this is what happens when you keep people waiting this long. So anyway, when he arrived, we actually got our pictures in 20 minutes flat. So the 5 hours we invested in this suspenseful wait, we got what we needed in all of 20 minutes flat. And this is how my article started. The beautiful bad boy of Bollywood has done it again. Nailed a photo crew, an entourage of foreign women in the smarmy gardens of Mehboob Studios on the strength of his relentless charisma. And when the man appears 5 hours post scheduled time, strolling in on foot in his Being Human t-shirt with a starlet, one can almost sense the space go into deep inhalation and then exhale a flurry of lackeys, families in waiting, tourists, hangers-on, chamchas, spot boys. A full-blooded flotsam appears from thin air. But that's because Salman has been a King Khan long before the term came into popular parlance. And then the drama only gets richer. Off he goes to the vanity van and out comes a tuxedoed fantasy, making it seem like the British invention was created around his taut, uber macho dimensions. So, basically, this is another paragraph from my story. Click, click, click. A squint here, a half smile there, a turn of the shoulder, a becoming frown with smiling eyes. This man is born to the manner born. Watching him do the subtle dance of sophisticated herogiri in a tuxedo across 3 changes, we sensed our photographer's lens is in love. It just cannot grab a below average photograph of the midlife supernova, also known as the world's 7th handsomest man. His face radiates sensitivity, warmth, confidence, balance, agility, and suaveness. And you remember how he sang about swag se karenge swagat. So this is exactly the mood that we saw. In no more than 20 minutes, we have everything we need. Pack up, we're done. And then what I loved is that Salman and I, he didn't make a fuss, "Arey garmi ho rahi hai, arey fan wale ko bula do, blow fan chahiye," nothing. We sat under a tree full of noisy crows on a bench in that smarmy garden. Any minute a crow could have done some wonder works over us, but patiently, quietly, we just sat and we chatted. And again, within 15 minutes, I was quite happy with the answers because he was a very honest man. And what he said, I was quite shaken by what he said. He said the reason he was single, I mean, that's the question that keeps coming up with Salman. And he told me, even 5 years from now when we meet, you will ask me, Salman, why are you single? The answer is it's the dynamics of entertainment. Now, if a man is patriarchal, if he wants to be an alpha male and he wants to go for a younger woman wants a career. So she's not interested in being Mrs. Khan. She's not interested in being the doormat and the wife. So what was repeatedly happening, I think, with Salman is first he proposed to Ash, and Ash wanted to grow as an artist. Plus, she couldn't handle his possessiveness. So that was over. Then he was with Katrina. Katrina was growing as an artist. So Salman becomes a negative asset as a spouse, but a very positive asset as a buddy and a mentor in the business. And that seems to be the role that he also excels at. And I think now he's probably reconciled to the fact that these hot chiquistas will not touch him and will not touch marriage with a barge pole till they're really pushing the end of the entertainment clock, whatever that clock is, because even that is now changing. So the irony is then sometimes one wonders whether he misses having a woman in his life. But the way one sees it is there is always a woman in his life. So during the lockdown, when we spoke to him for our PDF, our digital issue, he was quarantined with Jacqueline Fernandez and a couple of other friends. And I'm sure there are romances in his life constantly. Bhai always has lovers, but doesn't convert that into the permanence of a marriage, because he always says, I'm afraid to hurt a woman. I never want to hurt a woman. And if you go into his own family situation, I think his father married twice. And he must have seen the pain that the first wife had to undergo. So he stayed very clear of that scenario, and I guess wisely so. Now, the funny thing is, he's saying, as a kid, Sangeeta, I denied myself just about everything. My father, Salim Khan, left all his properties and land in Indore to come to Bombay with 60 rupees. Today, Salman is a 100 crore personality. They always say all the movies with Salman are billed as 100 crore blockbusters. That is the magic that Salman is born with. That is the charisma. That is the power of his charisma. And you know what? I personally, as a modern woman who's found my own way around things as well, when I watch Salman, it's not the alpha male and that dishum that really excites me. It's the sensitivity that he also radiates. And you know, when he does a rendition of a song in his own voice, forget the Pyar Corona. I didn't think, I mean, it was very cheesy, the pun on Corona, and it was kind of a lame melody, but then of course it went viral because it was Salman. But I loved the song Jag Ghumeya. Jag Ghumeya Thare Jaisa Na Koi. Jag Ghumeya Thare Jaisa Na Koi. So, you know, those soft songs and soft melodies where you see his eyes tearing up because he's missing the love of his life, that moves me. And of course, when I see him getting bashed up on screen, that moves me, because I know that if Salman is taking any bullshit, it's only because he's decided not to give it back to somebody. So, yeah, so there are certain dimensions, and he always believes that in a movie, the emotions have to be correct, the plot has to be correct. He doesn't believe that there are metrosexuals in pink shirts who are crying and who are vulnerable. He calls that, he says, I don't believe in this old age man and new age man. To him, it's all nonsense. What he believes is that it should be a story where a hero gets justice in the end. And that's what works. And he said that works every single time. You'll never have a flop with a correct story. So if you see even his characters, Dabbang, the policeman, Chulbul, whatever his name was, Chulbulbule, whatever, it's all about, it's a very cardboard kind of an approach to characterization. But the concessions are that as movies evolve, Salman is going to cry maybe a little more and sing a little more in his own voice. And so this was his quote about the correct story. He said, I don't believe in this new age and old age man, but one thing I do see working on our screen still is the force of moral rightness. It worked in Dabbang and it worked in Wanted. So he clearly still believes in the Vinod Khanna, Amitabh Dharamji retro hero who could bash up 100 losers and get away without a scratch. Absolutely. The same thing worked in a film I did called Garv, where I played a cop. All my friends said, Bhai, ye to C-grade film hai, ye kaam thodi karega. But I told them, ye kaam hi karega. And I was absolutely right, because the plot was correct. And so I concluded my hello story. Oh, and to end on a lighter note, I had to ask him a very tricky question. He was about to turn 50 when I last met him. And it was a scary thing to throw that question at him, knowing how temperamental Salman is known to be. And then his whole entourage sitting around him, just like waiting to heckle and laugh at a writer. So I found the courage to say, you know, recently I read a quote where Amir, who's now in his 50s, is saying that Abhi thoda mera battery dim ho raha hai, like my energy levels are falling a bit. And Salman just laughed uproariously, and then he had this whole theater of people sitting around who were all listening into every word he said. And I was recording him, and he said, Dekho, Amir kya bol raha hai? Energy kam hoti rahi. Tell him to drink energy, yaar. What is the problem? And of course, everybody was enjoying the moment, and I was embarrassed. But at least I did my job. I asked him that tricky question. And then he came out a little more serious note, and he said, you know, I go to the gym no matter how exhausted I am. Court case chal raha hai, movie ban raha hai, jo bhi hai, story sessions ka, readings are happening, and producers are meeting me, and people are around me, and sabko autograph chahiye, marketing karna. But I will go to the gym come what may, because you have to choose to keep the old person out of your system. As long as you make that a very clear-cut decision, that keep that old man away for as long as you can, you stay young and you stay hip and you stay popular. And at the end of our shoot, I am not kidding you, he must have taken over 100 photographs with every single person on set, from the makeup artist, hair person, spot boys, store people at our house, every single person. And by that time, people on the road, there was actually a roadblock, because so many people knew Salman is in the store, that the cops had come and there was a nakabandi, and people were trying to climb up the store windows to see what was going on. And I had the luxury of sitting right next to Mr. Khan on this vintage furniture trunk, and I'm so glad none of us are heavyweight champions because we were on that trunk the whole time. Anyway, so that was my excerpt on Salman, and I genuinely hope that you take inspiration from this guy. Good, bad, ugly.